Greetings comic book fans and welcome to the Dude Cave. I'm Jason and you are watching my weekly comic book reviews for the 3rd week of May 2016. Yes, I know it's a bit late, but like the old saying goes, better late than never. So I think without further ado, let's get into these reviews. So as usual, first up we have the rapid fire roundup. This is where I take the books that didn't make my comics of the week and I give them a quick once over, tell you what I like, what I didn't like, and give them a score out of 5 stars. We've got 17 books to get through, so let's see how quickly we can get through these. So we're kicking things off DC, and we have Action Comics issue number 52. I spoke about this in my haul video. I really enjoyed this. It left you really eager to read the next chapter, which is what you want. It's back on track after I felt they had a misstep in, I think it was part 5 of this story. But this issue, we're back on track. We introduce our Superman from the previous DC continuity. He comes into the story, our secret Superman. We have our dying Superman, we have our solar flare Superman, and everything seems to be converging together, all the characters coming into it, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really good, and I've said this every week, but it's kind of ironic how the New 52 Superman's having his best story, which is his last story. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far, and looking forward to see how it's all going to wind up. And I'd give Action Comics issue number 52 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Superman American Alien issue number 7. This is the final issue of this mini-series, and I've got to say I was a bit disappointed. I really love this series all the way through, but this one, I don't know, it felt all the way through like a coming of age story as Clark finds his place in the world as Superman. And it just felt that this issue, it didn't have the resolution I really wanted, and maybe my expectations, because I'd enjoyed it so much, were too high, but it just didn't deliver for me. There's a cool battle with Loki, which I really liked. Not Loki, sorry, Lobo. I never knew Lobo had super strength, because he must have, because he really beats Superman up bad. He leaves him blooded. Even though Superman wins the fight, he does leave him blooded. And I like the whole idea of how the world is kind of watching Superman in this moment, and kind of this makes Superman kind of the hero of the world, not just Metropolis. So there was that I liked, but I felt there wasn't that coming of age moment. There wasn't that kind of, for me in the book, there wasn't that moment where Superman kind of, you know, so I felt disappointed with that. That there wasn't that moment. Also, at the end, he ends up in hospital, and I'm kind of like, well, what happened to his suit? Why is everybody, can I say he's Clark Kent, when, you know, he was in the battle, he was the last thing we saw of him in the battle, and so, why is everybody, surely if he was going to collapse, he'd have collapsed in the Superman suit, and people would have known he was Superman, or even if they found him as Clark Kent, once they've run their tests, they would have said he's not human. So, there was a major disconnect for me with the final scene, and Lois Lane hasn't played that big a part in the series, so to have like the final issue be the big thing of her declaring her love for Clark, that didn't feel part of the coming of age thing, because it had to be a major part of the story thus far. However, there were good things about the book, and I did enjoy it. It just wasn't to the heights of the previous issues for me, and I'd give Superman American Alien issue number 7 3 stars out of 5. We then have Superman Wonder Woman issue number 29. This is part 7 of the final days of Superman. Again, very much the same as Action Comics. Everything's converging together. The story's moving in a great direction, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger that you kind of want to see resolved next issue, and you want to see where this is going to go, and you're hungry for more. So yeah, this again, much like Action Comics, this was great, and I'd give Superman Wonder Woman issue 29 5 stars out of 5. So next up from Image, we have Black Road, issue number 2. This will be the final issue I buy of this. I'm just not feeling it. I like the main character, Magnus the Black, the whole Christianity fit aspect, as they're kind of encroaching on Viking land, and people kind of saying, why are these foreigners coming over here with religion? I found was very, something that's very much in the news today, and so like it gave it an interesting slant that I really liked. However, I'm just not feeling the story. I kind of had to keep restarting this because I just wasn't getting it. I just wasn't getting into it, and I can't kind of put my finger on anything that's wrong with the book, but for me, I'm just not feeling it. So I'm not going to get the next issue, but it isn't a bad issue. So I'm going to give Black Road issue number 2. I'm going to give it 3 stars out of 5. We then have, moving over to Marvel, we have the Astonishing Ant-Man, issue number 8. This also will be the final issue of this series that I'm getting for now. I may go back to it in the future, but I've got so many books at the moment that there ain't room for books that I'm not feeling. And this book, the first issue, the big reveal was that Ant-Man's in prison. And here we are, issue 8, probably the second trade. And we still haven't got to that point yet. And I just feel the story's taking too long to kind of catch up to where we started. Because you want to see all the fallout. And while there are funny moments in here, the way Spencer writes these villains is fantastic and hilarious. And there's this great moment with the voice at the beginning of the book where we're introduced to all our villains. And the voice of this character, who with his voice can make people do what he wants. And he's talking to his phone, and his phone won't do what he wants. And it's just this really funny moment, the ironicness of that this guy whose superpower is that he can make people do what he wants with his voice, but his phone doesn't understand what he's saying and won't do what he wants. So I thought that moment was really funny, and I'm loving how Spencer's writing the characters and stuff. I just feel we're taking too long to get to where we should be. So I'm going to give Astonishing Ant-Man issue number 8 3 stars out of 5. So next up we have Deadpool, the Last Days of Magic number 1. This is a one-shot that ties in with the Doctor Strange story. I love how they tie Deadpool into this story and how we meet some other magical kind of characters. I enjoyed the story and the journey, and there's a moment at the end that you really feel the weight of, that I really liked. And this is the Deadpool I like, that yeah, he's crazy, he's madcap, but then at the same time you kind of get to see this side as he's really hit by loss at the end of this issue. And I really enjoyed this. I'm going to give Deadpool Last Days of Magic number 1 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Deadpool Mercs for Money issue number 4 of this mini. I think this is going to become an ongoing once they finish the mini story. And I kind of felt reading this book it's been the weakest Deadpool title, but this issue I felt the book really picks up. Really good story as Deadpool and his Mercs for Money are transporting this recorder that can see the future, and they're transporting him to the person who's bought him from him. And so all these different kind of super villains and gangs are trying to steal this recorder, and so Deadpool and Mercs for Money are having to fight the way off, and it makes for a really entertaining book with a really fun twist at the end of it that I really enjoyed. So yeah, this was really good, the best issue of this series so far. I'm going to give Deadpool Mercs for Money 4 stars out of 5. Next up we have International Iron Man issue number 3. I'm liking this book because it's doing something totally different to what the other Iron Man book is doing, which I think when you're having 2 books with 1 character is what you need to do. I'm loving kind of learning more about Iron Man's past as he's kind of trying to find his real birth parents, and I'm finding that really interesting. And what link this person from his past has to all this, I think it's really good. And yeah, it was a good, fun issue. It doesn't blow you away, but I feel the overarching story they're building to, I think when it's collected, I think it's going to be better than the sum of its parts. But I'm enjoying this, so I'm going to give International Iron Man issue number 3 4 stars out of 5. Next up we have Power Man and Iron Fist issue number 4. This was another really good issue of this series. It's a really fun title. It wraps up the first story arc as the former secretary of Power Man and Iron Fist, or receptionist. She has got this thing called the Super Soul Stone, and it's turning her really evil, and they've got to kind of find a way to stop her, and they've got this kind of cryptic thing of like something more powerful than what fuels the stone, because it's the only way to break its spell. And kind of you spend the whole issue kind of building up to that moment. I'm really liking the interactions between Power Man and Iron Fist, and even though this is a totally different Iron Fist to what we got last year in Iron Fist the Living Weapon, I still really enjoy the book, even though I recognise this is kind of a different version of that character. I really enjoyed the book, and I really like kind of like the culmination how for like the last 3 issues Power Man's been saying we're not a team, and this issue kind of like, yeah, we're a team again. So I like the journey of the characters. I like the story. It's a fun story. I'm just really enjoying this. I'm going to give Power Man and Iron Fist issue number 4 4 stars out of 5. Next up we have Silver Surfer issue number 4. Art wise, this is fantastic. We get this is like the last double page spread. but we get like Matt Aldred gets to draw all these great characters from the Marvel universe, which is fantastic. The art, the colours are brilliant. The story I really enjoyed, as Silver Surfer sacrificed himself to protect the Earth, and all the heroes are kind of now protect him. As you know, he's coming back. They find a way to save him, but he's still weak, and the people from his home world, whose culture he has destroyed in saving Earth, they want revenge. So all the heroes are kind of defending Silver Surfer while he's still in this weakened state. I enjoyed the story, and I enjoyed the story. I just felt the final destination kind of felt we could have got there without all the fighting. Because like, what were they fighting for when they kind of pass sentence on Silver Surfer, and it's not death, it's a fate worse than death. But I felt like, why couldn't we have got there in a more quicker manner and a less violent manner? But however, I am really enjoying this series. I'm loving the interaction between Nora and Alicia. I thought that was really good, and also I really liked, the way they're writing Silver Surfer in this series, and I'm just really enjoying the book and the character. And with Silver Surfer issue number 4 stars out of 5. Next up we have Squadron Supreme issue number 7. I enjoyed this overall. I think the main crutch that I'm really enjoying is the Battle of the Nightwings, and I thought, not Nightwings, sorry, Nighthawks. I thought that was really played up really well. And I really enjoyed that. The Dr. Spectrum stuff, I felt like basically what happens is she's teamed up with, I think his name's Toro, used to be with the Invaders, used to be the original Human Torch's sidekick, and he's now Inhuman, and so he and Dr. Spectrum and Black Bolt have kind of got to where they need to get to. But they're waiting until the guards kind of catch up. They've got a little bit of time before the alarm and that goes off. So that he spends like the whole of that time kind of giving his whole backstory and kind of how he's ended up there. And then they have this whole time to kind of have this really long conversation, and you're thinking, you're in the enemy's lair. How come you've got all this time? It just felt like a real disconnect for me. And maybe there was another way they could have achieved that. I don't know. Because it was important, the whole conversation was, because it leads to the point at the end that leads to conflict. But it just felt to me like, and also I felt for the whole scene, I felt Black Bolt was a bit too passive. I felt that the character he is, he wouldn't have just, stood back so much. So, and kind of the thing as well, he's such a mysterious character, we don't even know if he recognises Dr. Spectrum from when he saved us. So, overall, I enjoyed this. I didn't think it was as strong as the last issue, but I'm enjoying the series, particularly for the Nighthawk stuff. So I'm going to give Squadron Supreme issue number 7 4 stars out of 5. We then have the Uncanny Avengers issue number 9. Really loved this. Basically, we have Hank Pym returns, and he's now merged with Ultron, and says he can control his creation now. The Avengers aren't quite so sure, and kind of that's the whole crutch we're setting up. How in control is Hank Pym? It was really interesting seeing all the changes in the Marvel Universe through Hank's eyes. I thought that was really cool. And I liked how at the beginning we have Rogue kind of going back to something that happened in previous issues that I really liked as well. The art this issue was really good as well. And an artist by the name of, you can never find the name when you want it. Here we go. Artist is Pepe Loraz, and an artist I don't really know, but I really enjoyed their art this issue. So that was good. The story as a whole is good. We don't really get to see that much of the whole team of the Avengers, and there's still issues within the team that don't get kind of picked up on yet. But this is just the first chapter of this story, and it sets up a very intriguing story really well. So I'm going to give Uncanny Avengers issue number 9 5 stars out of 5. Moving on along to Titan Comics, we have the 9th Doctor Adventures issue number number 9. I have completely lost what's going on with this story. The whole approach to the 11th Doctor stories is completely different to the other ones, as we just have this continuous story going on, and I've just completely lost track of what's going on here. I do like we kind of clear the TARDIS a bit this issue and kind of get down to just 2 companions. I thought that was really good. and they're really building up well that the Doctor just does not know what to do this time. I think that they're building that nicely, as he's just trying different things and nothing's working. He seems a bit unnecessarily cruel to his companion. I think her name's Alice. Yeah, Alice. And I can't understand why. Absalom Dark, I feel, has become a bit of a one-dimensional character, which is disappointing. So he's become a bit disappointing. I'm hoping the whole thing with Alice, though, with the Doctor being unnecessarily cruel to her, I'm hoping there's going to become kind of resolution where he finds out that, where we, the reader, find out that this isn't the original Alice and that's why he's been cruel to her. That would then make it all make sense, but at the moment it just feels very undoctorish. I liked certain aspects of the story, but I just find the overarching story I've completely lost track of. So I'm going to give Doctor Who 11th Doctor Adventures Year 2, issue number 9, 3 stars out of 5. Next up we have Ninjak, issue number 15 from Valiant Comics. This is part 2 of the Siege of King's Castle. Really brilliant story, great spy stuff that I really enjoyed, as he's kind of trying to find this group whose name, I keep going to call them the Secret Seven, but it's not the Secret Seven, it's the Shadow Seven. So this Shadow Seven, who's kind of torn apart his life, he's trying to track them down. So the whole issue is kind of him being very spy-y, trying to track them down, which I really enjoyed that, and I thought that was really good. The backup here, which is like kind of like the Forgotten Tales, Lost Files kind of deal, really delves into the, Ninjak's parents, and there's a real nice twist with that story that I really enjoyed. All in all, this just continues to be a really great book, and I'm going to give Ninjak issue number 15 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Rai, issue number 13, which is a tie-in to 4001 AD. This issue kind of goes back to the beginning and shows Father's creation of the very first Rai, and I really enjoyed this whole history that kind of gives more context to not only the story we're seeing in 4001 AD, but the overall Rai story. So I'm really enjoying that. Really enjoyed the story. Really good. And the artist here we have, I think it's Cafu on art. I don't like to credit. Yeah, it's Cafu on art, and I thought that the art was really good. I was a bit worried because Clayton Crane has created such a unique style to this world, but I really liked what Cafu did with the book and enjoyed the art, enjoyed the story. If you're enjoying Rai, this is a good issue to pick up because it delves more into his history. Well, not the character's history, but his predecessor's history. So I'm going to give issue 13 of Rai 5 stars out of 5. So our final Valiant, oh no, we've got another Valiant book after this. So next up we have X-O Manowar Annual 2016, issue number 1. This was a fun little book. Well, I say little, it's got 64 pages. It's a series of short stories that don't tie together. I thought they did. I thought it was like one long story with different people writing each chapter, you know. But it's not one long story. They're a series of short stories, which I enjoyed. The first story deals with Arik in his youth and the whole concept of home, which I really liked because it really ties into the character and to how he survived so long as a slave of the vine. Kind of that ties in nicely to that. We get a story with the woman who ran Unity. We get a nice story with her, which I didn't really understand where it went. We then get a nice story with the Vine, which is going to be picked up in Faith number 1, which I really like that as well. Particularly when they mentioned it was going to be picked up in Faith, I thought that was really cool. And then the final story, I'm just trying to go back. The final story is really just a short thing where we kind of get a view of what's coming. Overall, I enjoyed this. Was it worth the money? For sheer number of pages, yes. For content, maybe not. I felt 2 of the stories were exceptionally strong. 2 of the stories were okay. But I overall enjoyed it. So I think I'd give X-O Manowar Annual 2016 number 1 4 stars out of 5. And our final book, we have Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, issue number 7. This was just fantastic. We've got this new mysterious character who seems to have lived a long life, and can kind of be reborn in different bodies, but he's always got the same mist-coloured eyes, and that's how you can keep a track of who he is. And he seems to carry his memories from previous lives with him. He is a very cold, dispassionate character, and kind of shows the journey, because the Eternal Warrior has kind of lived all these centuries, and he has kind of remained quite hopeful in a way, and still a good man, where you have this other character who's kind of the opposite to that, and how being immortal has kind of made him a cold, dispassionate kind of character. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really looking forward to seeing where we're going with this, and I felt this was a fantastic first chapter of this story, and I'm going to do Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, issue number 7, 5 stars out of 5. So that's the rapid fire roundup. Next up, it's time to find out what 5 books made my comics of the week. So here we are, comics of the week for the 3rd week of May. We have 5 really good books here to kind of share with you. The first book, I know it came out like 2 weeks ago, but I only picked it up last week from my comic shop. It is Jupiter Circle Volume 2, issue number 6. This is the final issue of this mini. It's a kind of a bit of a bittersweet finish. There's like, this issue really mainly focuses on Utopian and his relationship and the breakdown of his relationship, and I really love the story and how it goes. And like, we have this one thing with his kind. Utopian is basically Superman, and he has this enemy called Hobbs, who's basically Lex Luthor, who's in prison, who we met previously in this series. And he goes to prison and keeps visiting this guy, and kind of they become really good friends. That he opens up, tells him his secret identity, and they discuss his life and everything, and he turns Hobbs into a really good person who's going to do for good now. And I really like that relationship, that complex relationship they build between those two characters. What happens here with Utopian is heartbreaking, but I kind of like where we end up. It does end up with 2 characters who've got a kind of a tragic tale getting together, which you can see on the cover. So I really like that. I liked at the end how we go around all the characters, and for the first time we get in the book, we kind of get a sequence where we get each character's name, which is really cool. We get a prison break, which I really love to see where that's going to go. I don't know if we're going to get another prequel, or if kind of the threads that this builds to are kind of all things we've kind of seen in Jupiter's Legacy, because I've not read that yet. I'm going to be buying that this week. Now that I've read this, I want to go and read Jupiter's Legacy, because like to see kind of how much we knew before we read the prequel is going to be interesting. But yes, I don't know if we're going to come back with another prequel, if a lot of these threads were picked up. Are things building to things that we know that happened from the original story? That's going to be interesting to find out. But I really enjoyed this. I loved, like, it did have a kind of happy ending. It left a few threads out in the wind, which again, like I'm saying, I don't know if they get picked up. But I really enjoyed this. This was just a really good story. And as with the whole story, yeah, the art works well for the story, and I just really like this. This is just really a really good conclusion to what's been a really good series. So I'm going to give Jupiter Circle Volume 2, issue number 6, one of my comics of the week. So next up is a book that I initially didn't pick up, even though I was tempted. But then Sleepy Reader, he said it was really good. He recommended it, so I picked it up. And you know what? Sleepy Reader was bang on. Future Quest #1 was a really good series. It sets up a lot of stuff that's going to come later on. You can see it's laying the seeds in place. But the overarching story, I think, did a good job of introducing the characters. There's some characters here that I know from the original cartoon shows, but there's some characters I don't. So it does a good job of catching you up. It does, for me, have a classic kind of vibe to it, just the way that it's written. I loved the art here. We've got this reveal of like Birdman, which I really liked. I also like there's this scene with the villains where the whole colour of the book changes to this 2-page scene with the villain, which I also really love how they used the colour for that scene. I thought it introduces the characters well, that even if you never saw the cartoon shows, I think that you'd still enjoy this book on a level, because it introduces the characters really well. And I'm liking where the story's going, and I'm looking forward to seeing how everything's going to converge together. But this was a really good start, and I'm going to make Future Quest #1 one of my comics of the week. So next up, we are on the road to Civil War 2, and my next comic of the week is All New Wolverine, issue number 8. And I'm really enjoying this series. I'm really enjoying our new Wolverine, and it's kind of funny how some characters you can't accept in the roles. I could never really get my head around Jim Gordon as Batman, and I never really, even though there were some good stories with him, I never really totally accepted Jim Gordon as Batman. It just didn't work for me. But how we've got Laura here taking up the mantle of Wolverine, and I totally accept it, and I hope she's Wolverine for many years, because it really works really well for the character. I'm loving her path and her story, and how we kind of see these moments with Logan and the advice he gave her, and how she's now applying that to her relationship with Gabby. I really liked that as well. I really like Gabby as a character. I'm glad she's sticking around. And this whole issue kicks off a brand new story called The Box, which looks like it may lead to our all-new Wolverine meeting our old Man Logan, which should be really cool. It's a good start to a new story. I'm just really enjoying it all in all. It's just been a really good book. So we could give all new Wolverine issue number 8. It's going to be one of my comics of the week. So our penultimate comic of the week is Old Man Logan issue number 6. This continues the current story where Logan has gone to look up the woman he marries in the future. He's going to look her up and to protect her, but he ends up just bringing a whole lot of bad times to her town. It's this town that's kind of cut off, so the only way in or out is by helicopter, and the Reavers turn up looking for Logan, and they start slaughtering people in the village, and Logan's kind of having to try and save people while at the same time fighting off these Reavers. I really enjoyed this story. I thought it was really good. I'm loving how kind of we get this whole kind of theme of that Logan's bad luck for people, that any time he tries to kind of befriend people or live a quiet life, things catch up with him. For this character, it's even more kind of it's an even bigger thing, because you know what happened to his family, how they were slaughtered by Hulks, and so he's just got this reoccurring theme of bad things happening when he tries to kind of get close to people. And it kind of also plays to what we see in All New Wolverine and the flashbacks to Laura and Logan. So I'm liking that kind of whole theme to Logan, that he just brings bad times on people, and that this is something that he's really feeling. I like the whole issue as well, because it's this town, and the only way in or out is helicopter, and there's no way out, there's no communication, they can't call for help. I'm really liking the whole claustrophobic feel that they've locked down. This was just a real joy. The art as well here by Sorrentino, and the colours by Mielo. Just a great team. I'm loving how they're writing the character, and just a really good book. Definitely worth checking out, and I give Old Man Logan issue number 6 one of my comics of the week. So our final comic of the week is Civil War 2 issue 0. This does everything that you want from issue 0. You kind of set up where you can see the whole Civil War 2 story going. We lay the groundwork, we meet our main characters, we see War Machine, possibly, you know, going into a political career. We see Captain Marvel having difficulty balancing kind of her life and everything in her life. We see She-Hulk, and she loses the case, and tragedy strikes a client, and it kind of the whole innocent man kind of convicted of something he didn't do kind of thing, and you can see by the end of the issue how that might become a big thing for this story. And then we meet these 2 young kids who become Inhumans. So I just really enjoyed the story all in all. I think it sets up Civil War nicely, and takes a book that I wasn't really looking forward to, and I was kind of rolling my eyes at, but now I'm really looking forward to it. Anytime you get She-Hulk kind of featured in a book, I'm going to be there, because I love her character. So I really like that she's going to be featuring prominently in the story. As always, Bendis just writes dialogue so well, and there's some great scenes between different characters. We have Doc Samson returning from the dead, and there's a really nice line from Captain Marvel when she meets up with Doc Samson, like, weren't you dead 3 weeks ago? Because I didn't even know he'd come back. I don't even know what book he came back in, but it was good to see Doc Samson turn up here. The art by Olivier Coipel, you can see why they only wheel this guy out for events, because it is just gorgeous art. All in all, this was just a fantastic book, and really lays the groundwork for what's to come well, and does everything I want from a 0 issue. So I'm going to give Civil War 2 0. It's going to be one of my comics of the week. So those are my books for this week. I will be back in a few days with my comic haul, with Comic Haul Weekly, where I share with you the new books, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm hoping by Tuesday the latest I'll have this week's books, but it's a very big week this week, so it's going to be a major challenge to get through them all. But anywho, thank you very much for watching my video. Please, if you liked it, give me those beautiful thumbs up, let me know you like what I'm doing. All that leaves me to say now is that I've been Jason, coming to you from the Dude Cave with Comic Haul Weekly. Keep reading, and bye for now.